Ambassador Choi Hee-jin stood before the massive council chamber, her hands steady as she held the datapad containing Earth's annual reports. The chamber stretched upward like a cathedral, filled with beings from across the galaxy. Some had scales that shimmered under the artificial lights. Others had multiple eyes that tracked her every movement, and a few floated in transparent containers filled with strange gases. All of them waited to hear about humanity's progress in what they believed was simple farming and food production. Honored council members, Choi began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's advanced sound systems. Earth presents its agricultural yield report for the cycle 2387. She touched the datapad, and holographic displays filled the air above her head. Numbers and charts appeared showing what looked like crop production statistics, livestock counts, and soil analysis data. The numbers were impressive. Earth had increased its wheat production by 37%, rice yields were up by 42%, and protein synthesis had reached new heights. What the council did not know was that these numbers actually represented something entirely different. The wheat production figures were really about ammunition manufacturing. The rice yields showed ship construction rates. The protein synthesis data tracked the development of advanced armor materials. Council Security Chief Vexandra clicked her 6 arms together in what passed for approval among her insectoid species. She made notes on her own device, marking Earth as compliant agricultural supplier once again. For over a century, humans had been classified as peaceful farmers who pose no threat to galactic stability. Their planet was listed in the database as threat level negligible, with additional notes describing them as artistic and culturally focused with no significant military capabilities. Meanwhile, far from the council chambers, Captain Lee Tae-min walked the bridge of his ship. To any external observer, the vessel looked like a standard agricultural research craft. Its hull bore the markings of Earth's Food Development Agency, and its official mission logs showed it was studying crop growth in different gravitational environments. But the bridge where Lee stood contained advanced tactical displays, weapon control systems, and military-grade communication equipment that would have shocked the council observers. "Captain," called Engineer Yoon Jae-ho from his station, "we're receiving a distress signal." The young man's fingers moved quickly across his control panel, bringing up the signal details on the main screen. "It's coming from the Kepler sector, about 2 hours away at standard speed." Lee studied the information. A Zephyrian merchant vessel was under attack by pirates. The Zephyrians were one of the newer council species, barely 50 years into membership. Their ships were fast but lightly armed, designed for trade rather than combat. The pirates attacking them were likely Korthax raiders, known throughout this sector for their brutal attacks on peaceful vessels. "Sir," Yoon continued, "Council protocols state that agricultural vessels should not engage in combat situations. We're supposed to report this to Council security and maintain our distance." Dr. Park So-young looked up from her science station where she had been analyzing what appeared to be plant samples, but were actually fragments of alien weapon technology. She had spent decades studying the military capabilities of every species in the Council, gathering information that officially did not exist in her research files. "The nearest Council security ship is 6 hours away," she said quietly. "The Zephyrians won't last that long." Lee made his decision quickly. For over a century, humanity had been playing the role of peaceful farmers, while secretly building a military force that the galaxy had never imagined. Ships like his existed throughout human space, disguised as research vessels, cargo haulers, and exploration craft. Each one carried weapon systems that appeared primitive to casual observation, but incorporated principles that made them devastatingly effective. "Change course for the Kepler sector," Lee ordered. "Maximum speed." The ship turned smoothly and accelerated far faster than any agricultural vessel should have been able to move. In the engine room, systems that appeared to be grain processing equipment were actually advanced propulsion units that pushed the ship toward the battle at speeds that would have alarmed Council monitors. As they approached the distress signal location, the tactical display showed 3 Korthax raider ships surrounding the damaged Zephyrian merchant vessel. The raiders were taking their time, systematically destroying the merchant's shields and preparing to board. Their ships were older models but well armed, each one capable of destroying a dozen conventional trading vessels. "Open a channel to the Zephyrian ship," Lee commanded. The response came immediately, filled with static and panic. The Zephyrian captain's translator rendered his words into human speech, his voice high with fear. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Veltar of the merchant ship Dancing Sky. We are under attack and our defenses are failing. Please maintain your distance and report our position to Council security." "Captain Veltar, this is Captain Lee of the Earth research vessel Growing Fields. Stand by for assistance." There was silence on the channel for a moment. Then Veltar's voice returned, confused. "Research vessel, you must withdraw immediately. These raiders will destroy you." Lee smiled grimly. "Let us worry about that." He turned to his weapons officer, Lieutenant Kim Dong-soo, who sat at what appeared to be a soil analysis station. "Target the lead raider ship. Prepare the harvester arrays." The weapon systems that activated bore no resemblance to anything in the Council's military database. Instead of energy beams or missile launchers, the ship deployed what looked like agricultural equipment. But these harvesters generated focused gravitational fields that could tear apart enemy shields, and the seed dispensers fired projectiles that used principles of physics that most species had never encountered. The first raider ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, its crew never understanding what had hit them. The remaining two raiders immediately turned toward Lee's ship, their own weapons charging. But they were facing technology that had been developed specifically to counter every known form of galactic military equipment. The second raider fired its main cannon directly at the growing fields. The energy beam struck what should have been the ship's hull, but instead hit an adaptive shield system that analyzed the incoming attack and automatically reconfigured itself to absorb the energy completely. The shield then redirected that same energy back at the attacker, overloading its systems and causing massive internal explosions. The third raider tried to escape, but Lee's ship moved with impossible speed and agility. The fertilizer sprayer array released a cloud of what appeared to be agricultural chemicals, but was actually a swarm of microscopic devices that attached to the enemy hull and systematically destroyed its structural integrity. The raider ship simply came apart, its pieces drifting harmlessly in space. The entire battle had lasted less than 3 minutes. Captain Veltar's voice came through the communication channel, filled with amazement and confusion. "Growing Fields, how did you do that? What kind of research vessel carries such weapons?" "Just some new agricultural technology we've been testing," Lee replied calmly. "Are your people injured?" But unknown to both captains, one of the destroyed raider ships had managed to transmit an emergency beacon in its final moments. The beacon carried full sensor recordings of the battle, including detailed scans of the human ship's impossible weapons and the tactical data showing how it had moved and fought. The beacon drifted through space for several hours before being picked up by a Council monitoring station. The automated systems flagged it as routine pirate activity and forwarded it to Security Chief Vexandra's office for review. When Vexandra saw the recordings, her 6 arms stopped moving completely. She watched the footage 3 times, her compound, eyes focusing on every detail. According to every database in Council space, humans did not possess military technology. They were farmers and artists, creators of beautiful music and excellent food. They had never shown any interest in weapons or warfare, but the evidence before her showed something impossible. A human ship had just destroyed 3 well-armed raiders using weapons that should not exist. The tactical analysis showed movement, patterns, and combat efficiency that exceeded anything in the Council's own military forces. Vexandra activated her emergency communication system and sent an urgent message to the Council chambers, where Ambassador Choi was still presenting her. Agricultural reports. The message contained a single line of text that would change everything. The humans have weapons. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of Vexandra's message. The great chamber that usually hosted peaceful discussions about trade agreements and cultural exchanges now buzzed with urgent whispers and concerned, clicking sounds from various species. Ambassador Choi Hyejin sat in the human delegation area, genuinely confused about why she had been called back so quickly after her successful agricultural presentation. Council Prime Minister HFY activated the central display system with one of his forearms while his other limbs sorted through data files. The ancient being had maintained galactic peace for 800 years, and his experience told him that this situation required immediate attention. The holographic display filled the chamber's center, showing the pirate attack footage that had arrived from the monitoring station. Fellow council members, HFY announced, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. We must review disturbing information regarding our Earth colleagues. The display began showing the battle, starting with the distress call from the Zephyrian merchant vessel. Ambassador Choi watched with growing alarm as the footage played. She saw a ship marked with Earth symbols engaging in combat with sophisticated weapon systems that definitely did not exist in any Earth database she knew about. Her hands gripped her chair as she realized that either this was some kind of elaborate fake, or her own government had been keeping enormous secrets from her. War Master Drakthul leaned forward from his position in the military advisory section. His species had evolved from predators, and his sharp instincts told him that this footage represented a fundamental shift in galactic power balance. Computer, analyze the weapon signatures, he commanded. The analysis appeared on secondary displays throughout the chamber. Every council species had contributed their military technology data to create a comprehensive database of known weapons, systems. The computer searched through millions of entries comparing energy patterns, projectile behaviors, and tactical movements. After several minutes, the computer announced its findings in the neutral tone used for official reports. No matching weapon signatures found in galactic database. Technology principles appear to be previously unknown. Combat efficiency exceeds all recorded standards. A wave of concerned sounds filled the chamber. The Altarian delegation produced musical tones that indicated deep worry. The crystalline void-high species created harmonic frequencies that roughly translated to impossible situation detected. Even the usually calm aquatic representatives began creating bubble patterns that showed extreme agitation. Vexandra stood and activated her personal address system. Honored council members, initial investigation suggests this is not an isolated incident. We have found 17 other reports over the past 50 years describing unusual activities involving human vessels. These reports were previously classified as sensor malfunctions or exaggerated accounts. Dr. Park So-young sat in her laboratory, on Earth, unaware that her carefully constructed deception was beginning to unravel. She had spent the morning preparing samples for what she believed would be another routine inspection visit from council observers. Her official research focused on improving crop yields through genetic modification, but her real work involved analyzing captured fragments of Korthak's radar technology and Nexari defensive systems. The samples on her desk looked like ordinary plant specimens to casual observation, but each one had been carefully prepared to hide microscopic components of alien technology that she had been reverse engineering for decades. Her goal was to understand every military capability possessed by council species, knowledge that officially did not exist in any human database. Admiral Kim Dong-hyun received the emergency communication from Ambassador Choi while reviewing construction. Reports from the hidden shipyards behind Earth's moon. The message was brief but alarming. Council requesting immediate inspection of all Earth military capabilities. Respond urgently. Kim understood that their careful deception was failing. For over a century, humanity had maintained the fiction that they were peaceful farmers interested only in growing food and creating art. But the reality was far different. Earth had been quietly building a military force designed to protect not just humanity, but the entire galactic community from threats that the Council either could not see or chose to ignore. The Council's inspection team arrived at Earth 3 days later. The fleet consisted of 5 vessels carrying the galaxy's most advanced scanning equipment and top xenotechnology experts. Lead Inspector Zarquan had examined dozens of developing civilizations and knew exactly what to look for when assessing military capabilities. Dr. Park greeted the inspection team at Earth's primary spaceport, wearing her best diplomatic smile and carrying data files about agricultural research projects. She had prepared carefully for this moment, knowing that eventually someone would come looking for answers about human activities. "Welcome to Earth, Inspector Zarquan," she said warmly. "We're excited to show you our latest developments in sustainable farming, and food production technology. The inspection began with a tour of what appeared to be Earth's largest agricultural facility. Inspector Zarquan and his team carried devices that could analyze any material or energy signature from a distance. They scanned everything they saw, from the massive grain processing equipment to the soil analysis laboratories. What they did not realize was that Dr. Park was showing them a carefully orchestrated performance. The grain processing equipment was actually ammunition manufacturing systems that had been temporarily reconfigured to look agricultural. The soil analysis laboratories contained weapons development technology that appeared to be studying plant growth but was really testing new armor materials. Engineer Yoon Jae-ho monitored the inspection from his underground facility buried beneath what appeared to be a wheat field. His control room was located 50 meters below ground level, protected by shielding that made it invisible to most scanning technologies. But the Council's equipment was more advanced than he had expected. "Dr. Park," came her voice through his communication earpiece. "The scanners are detecting some unusual energy signatures from Sector 7. Can you handle that?" Yoon checked his displays and saw that the Council devices were picking up massive power readings from his weapons development laboratories. He quickly activated camouflage systems that would make the energy signatures appear to be geothermal heating for greenhouse operations. Meanwhile, Captain Song Mi-rae was dealing with her own problems in orbit around Mars. Her ship, officially designated as a mineral survey vessel, had been detected by long-range Council sensors moving at speeds that should have been impossible for human technology. She had been forced to reduce speed and alter course to make her activities appear more consistent with mining operations. The inspection team spent 6 hours examining Earth's facilities, and with each hour, Inspector Zarquan became more concerned. His sensors were detecting inconsistencies everywhere. Energy readings that seemed too high for agricultural equipment, material compositions that included elements not normally found in farming tools, communication signals that used frequencies typically reserved for military applications. But every time he asked Dr. Park about these anomalies, she provided reasonable explanations. The high energy readings were for advanced crop processing. The unusual materials were experimental fertilizers. The military frequencies were being used to coordinate agricultural satellites. As the day ended, Inspector Zarquan filed his preliminary report with the Council. The report contained a single recommendation that would change everything. Inconsistencies detected throughout human facilities. Recommend immediate reclassification assessment and expanded investigation. Captain Lee Tae-min received the news, while his ship was stationed near Jupiter's outer moons. Admiral Kim had sent a coded message hidden within what appeared to be routine supply requests. The message was clear. Their secret was compromised, and the Council was preparing to conduct a full military assessment of Earth. Lee understood the implications immediately. A full military assessment would involve battlefleet-level scanning equipment and investigators specifically trained to detect hidden weapon systems. There would be no way to hide the orbital shipyards, the defense grid, or the hundreds of ships that humanity had built over the past century. For the first time in over 100 years, humanity would have to decide whether to continue the deception or reveal the truth about what they had really been doing, while the galaxy believed they were simple farmers. The decision came from Earth's highest levels of government within hours. President Lee In-ho, after consulting with military leaders and civilian advisors, issued a classified directive to all human vessels and facilities. Prepare for full disclosure protocols. The age of secrets is ending. But even as humanity prepared to reveal their true capabilities, none of them realized that the Council's investigation would uncover something far more significant than hidden weapons or secret shipyards. The assessment would reveal that humanity had been fighting a war that the rest of the galaxy did not even know existed. In the outer darkness beyond the galaxy's edge, sensors that had been placed there by human scouts decades earlier detected new movement. The Council's assessment fleet arrived at Earth with enough firepower to level a small planet. 12 massive vessels carrying the galaxy's most sophisticated scanning technology formed a defensive perimeter around the human homeworld. Council War Master Drakthul commanded the operation from his flagship, determined to uncover the truth about humanity's hidden capabilities. Admiral Kim Dong-hyun stood in Earth's orbital command center, watching the approaching fleet through advanced telescopes that officially did not exist. The command center itself was hidden inside what appeared to be a weather monitoring station, but its walls contained tactical displays showing the positions of every ship in the solar system, including ones the Council could not detect. "Admiral," reported Colonel Oh Sang-wook from his intelligence station, "the Council fleet is beginning their deep scans. They're using quantum resonance technology that can penetrate most forms of concealment." Kim nodded grimly. He had hoped to maintain their deception longer, but the time for secrets was ending. "Initiate Disclosure Protocol 7, he commanded. "All stations prepare for full revelation." Across Earth's solar system, systems that had been hidden for decades began to power up. The weather satellites orbiting Earth started extending sensor arrays and weapon platforms that transformed them from simple monitoring devices into a sophisticated defense grid. Behind the moon, construction facilities that had been disguised as mining operations began revealing their true purpose as massive shipyards. Dr. Han Yu-jin worked frantically in her laboratory beneath the Sahara Desert, preparing the theoretical research that would soon become very practical indeed. For 30 years, she had been developing faster-than-light communication systems and propulsion technology that surpassed anything the Council possessed. Her work had been classified as impossible theoretical physics, but the working prototypes in her lab told a different story. The Council fleet's first scans detected the orbital defense grid immediately. War Master Drak Thul stared at his displays in disbelief as hundreds of weapon platforms revealed themselves around Earth. Each platform carried enough firepower to destroy a capital ship, and they were positioned with tactical precision that suggested decades of careful planning. "How is this possible?" demanded Inspector Zarquan from his position at the scanning station. "Our databases show no evidence of human military technology. These weapons appeared from nowhere." Captain Song-mi Ray received her orders while stationed near Mars, where her ship had been conducting what appeared to be routine mineral surveys. The message from Earth was clear: full disclosure authorized. She activated her ship's true systems and watched as her vessel transformed from a simple mining craft into a warship that incorporated technology the Council had never seen. General Lim Seok-jin commanded the orbital defense network from his hidden base on the far side of the moon. His facility had been disguised as a research station studying lunar geology, but its true purpose was coordinating Earth's protective systems. As the disclosure protocols activated, he found himself revealing military capabilities that exceeded most Council member worlds. "General," reported his tactical officer, "the Council fleet is attempting to scan our shipyard facilities. Should we maintain concealment?" "Negative," Lim replied. "Full disclosure means full disclosure. Show them everything. The shipyard's behind." The moon began revealing themselves in a display that shocked every member of the Council fleet. Massive construction facilities that had been completely invisible to previous scans suddenly appeared, showing dozens of ships in various stages of completion. The vessels being built incorporated design principles that seemed to ignore several fundamental laws of physics as the Council understood them. War Master Drak Thul activated his emergency communication system and sent an urgent message to Council headquarters. "This is impossible. The humans have constructed a complete military infrastructure. Their capabilities exceed our projections by orders of magnitude." But the most shocking discovery came when Captain Lee Tae-min contacted the Council fleet directly. His ship appeared on their sensors moving at impossible speeds, arriving from the outer system in minutes when the journey should have taken hours. "Council Assessment Fleet, this is Captain Lee of the Earth vessel Growing Fields. Request permission to come alongside for direct communication." Drak Thul granted permission, curious to understand what he was facing. Lee's ship docked with the Council flagship, and the human captain walked aboard carrying data files that would change the galaxy's understanding of everything. "War Master Drak Thul," Lee began formally, "I bring greetings from Earth, and an explanation for what your scans are discovering." The meeting took place in the flagship's main conference room, with representatives from several Council species participating via quantum communication. Lee activated a holographic display that showed star charts covering the entire galactic region. For the past 127 years, Lee explained, Earth has been engaged in defensive operations against threats that the Council classified as unsolvable problems or ignored entirely. Your databases show 17 major incidents involving hostile forces that mysteriously disappeared or were neutralized by unknown factors. The display showed locations throughout the galaxy where battles had occurred, events that the Council had recorded but never fully investigated, pirates who vanished without explanation, hostile species that suddenly stopped their expansion, dangerous phenomena that simply stopped threatening inhabited worlds. We were responsible for those interventions, Lee continued. Earth's ships have been operating throughout Council space, protecting settlements and trade routes from dangers that your security forces could not handle. Dr. Park So-young appeared via holographic communication from her laboratory, where she was finally revealing her true research. Council members, what you believed was agricultural development was actually a comprehensive study of galactic military capabilities. We needed to understand every threat we might face. The revelation continued as engineer Yoon Jae-ho demonstrated technology that seemed to operate beyond known scientific principles. His weapons systems could adapt to counter any form of attack, in real time, learning from each encounter and becoming more effective. His propulsion technology allowed human ships to move through space in ways that defied conventional understanding. But why hide this? Demanded Inspector Zarquan. Why maintain the deception about being peaceful farmers? Lee's expression became serious. Because the galaxy was not ready to know that it needed protection. The Council maintains peace through cooperation and diplomacy. Those are admirable goals, but they do not address certain types of threats. The display changed to show sensor readings from the galaxy's outer edge, data that human scouts had been collecting for decades. The readings indicated the presence of something vast and hostile approaching from outside the galactic boundary. Scientist Jung Yoon-soo joined the communication from her research facility, where she had been developing adaptive shield technology. Council members, we discovered evidence of an external threat 35 years ago. Our analysis indicated that conventional galactic military forces would be insufficient to address this danger. What kind of threat? Asked Drakthul, though he suspected he did not want to hear the answer. We call them the Void Hunters, Lee replied. They are a species that consumes other species not for resources or territory, but for the complete elimination of life itself. They have been moving toward our galaxy for decades, and they will arrive within the next few years. The Council. Representatives fell silent as they processed this information. The idea of an external threat to the entire galaxy was beyond their experience. The Council had been formed to maintain peace among member species, not to fight wars against unknown enemies. Every ship we built, every weapon we developed, every system we concealed was designed specifically to fight the Void Hunters, Lee continued. We studied their tactics from the remains of civilizations they destroyed in nearby galaxies. We learned their weaknesses and developed countermeasures. Colonel Oh Sang-wook provided additional evidence from his intelligence networks. Our agents throughout Council space have been monitoring for signs of Void Hunter infiltration. They send scouts ahead of their main forces, corrupting worlds from within before the invasion begins. The meeting lasted for hours, as humanity revealed the full scope of their hidden activities. The Council fleet discovered that human technology was not just advanced, it was specifically designed to counter threats that the Council had never imagined. Every system incorporated lessons learned from studying the galaxy's most dangerous enemies. Prime Minister Kethfar participated in the discussion from Council headquarters, his ancient wisdom struggling to process the implications of what he was learning. If what you say is true, then humanity has been protecting the galaxy while we believed they were simple farmers. That was always our intention, Lee confirmed. We never wanted to be warriors. But the evidence showed that someone needed to prepare for what was coming. The Council's peaceful approach works well for internal disputes, but it cannot address existential threats. As the revelation continued, Dr. Han Yu-jin demonstrated communication technology. Emergency protocols activated across Council space as news of humanity's true capabilities spread through quantum communication networks. On every major world, government officials and military leaders struggled to understand how their fundamental assumptions about galactic power had been so completely wrong. Council Prime Minister HFY convened the largest emergency session in galactic history. Representatives from all 437 member species participated either in person or through holographic communication. The great chamber that usually hosted peaceful diplomatic discussions now buzzed with panic, anger, and confusion. Colonel Oh Sang-wook monitored the Council's communications from his intelligence center on Earth, where banks of quantum receivers intercepted messages throughout the galaxy. His network of human agents, who had spent decades posing as cultural exchange students and agricultural specialists, began reporting the reactions from every major Council world. Admiral Oh reported to Kim Dong-hyun, the Alterian High Command, is calling for immediate military mobilization against Earth. The Nexari Assembly is demanding that all human vessels be impounded. The crystalline void high are producing harmonic frequencies that translate roughly to existential terror detected. But the most concerning reports came from the military analysis divisions of various Council species. War Master Drakthul had shared his assessment data with defense leaders throughout the galaxy, and their conclusions were uniformly alarming. Dr. Kethril of the Zephyrian Military Institute published an analysis that sent shockwaves through Council space. Human military capabilities appear to be specifically designed to counter every known form of galactic warfare. Their weapon systems operate on principles that make conventional defenses useless. Their ships move in patterns that ignore tactical doctrines developed over thousands of years. Scientist Jung Yun-soo demonstrated her adaptive shield technology to a panel of Council military experts via quantum communication. The shields analyzed incoming attacks in microseconds and reconfigured themselves to provide optimal defense. During the demonstration, the shield successfully blocked and absorbed 17 different weapon types from across the galaxy, then redirected the energy back at their sources. This technology makes every weapon system in Council space obsolete, reported Chief Engineer Velquan of the Alterian Defense Force. If humans can adapt to counter any attack in real time, conventional military strategy becomes meaningless. Captain Song Mi-rae received orders to demonstrate her ship's true capabilities to a Council observation team. Her vessel, which had appeared to be a simple mining craft, revealed propulsion systems that allowed it to accelerate to impossible speeds and maneuver in ways that violated several laws of physics as the Council understood them. The human ships don't follow normal space-time constraints, reported the observation team. They appear to be using some form of technology that allows them to ignore gravitational effects and inertial limitations. But the most disturbing discovery came when War Master Drakthul began analyzing historical data with new understanding. He realized that humans had been present at every major galactic conflict over the past century, always in background roles that seemed unimportant at the time. Look at the Korthax expansion wars, Drakthul explained to his staff. Council forces were losing every engagement until mysterious equipment failures began affecting Korthax vessels. The failures were attributed to design flaws, but now we know human agents were sabotaging enemy ships. Similar patterns emerged from dozens of conflicts. The Nexari border crisis had ended when pirate fleets simply vanished without explanation. The Void High Crystal Wars had concluded after hostile forces encountered technical difficulties that destroyed their command ships. In every case, Council forces had claimed victory without understanding why their enemies had suddenly become vulnerable. Admiral Kim Dong-hyun addressed the Council directly through quantum communication, speaking from his command center while tactical displays showed the positions of human ships throughout the galaxy. The displays revealed that humans had been steadily moving vessels into strategic positions around every major Council world over the past several decades. Council members, Kim began, I understand your concerns about our military capabilities, but I want to clarify our intentions. Every human ship in Council space is positioned defensively. We are not an invasion force. We are a protective barrier. The statement did little to calm the panic. Several Council species interpreted the positioning of human vessels as evidence of an impending attack. The fact that these ships had been moving into position without detection for decades only increased their fear. "How long have you been planning this?" demanded Representative Korthal of the Draconic Assembly. "How long have humans been positioning for galactic conquest?" "We are not positioning for conquest," Kim replied firmly. "We are positioning for defense against the Void Hunters." But even as Kim spoke, Dr. Han Yu-jin was making a discovery that would change everything. Her long-range sensors, positioned at the galaxy's edge, detected the first signs of the approaching threat. The Void Hunters had begun sending scout ships ahead of their main force, probing the galaxy's defenses and identifying targets for their invasion. "Admiral Kim," Dr. Han's voice came through the emergency communication system. "We have contact. Void Hunter scouts have entered our galaxy. They're conducting reconnaissance of the core worlds." The news reached the council chamber within minutes, transmitted through human communication networks that operated faster than anything the council possessed. Prime Minister Kethvar received the information while several council species were still debating whether to take military action against humanity. Captain Lee Tae-min was already moving to intercept the scout ships when he received authorization to reveal the full scope of human operations. His ship and 12 others that had been conducting routine patrols throughout the sector converged on the Void Hunter positions. Council observation teams, Lee broadcast on open channels. "You are welcome to monitor our engagement with the advanced scouts. This will demonstrate why Earth developed its military capabilities." The battle that followed was unlike anything in Council military history. The Void Hunter scouts were not ships in any conventional sense. They were living entities that could adapt their forms to counter enemy attacks. Conventional weapons would have been useless against them, but human technology had been specifically designed for this type of enemy. Captain Song Mi-rae coordinated the attack using tactics that seemed to ignore every principle of space warfare. Human ships moved in patterns that appeared random, but were actually calculated to exploit weaknesses in Void Hunter adaptation cycles. Their weapons fired in sequences that prevented the enemy from developing effective countermeasures. The scouts were destroyed within minutes, but not before they transmitted detailed information about Council space back to the approaching Void Hunter fleet. Dr. Han Yu-jin's sensors detected the transmission and began analyzing its contents. "The scouts have mapped our major population centers," she reported. "They've identified the locations of Council headquarters, primary industrial worlds, and military installations. The main Void Hunter force will know exactly where to strike." Engineer Yoon Jae-ho worked frantically to adapt his weapon systems based on data collected from the scout battle. The Void Hunters had already begun evolving new defenses against human attacks, forcing constant innovation in weapon design. "They learn from each encounter," he explained to the council observers. "Every battle teaches them how to counter our tactics. That's why we needed such advanced adaptive technology." Scientist Young Eun-soo analyzed fragments of the destroyed scouts and made a disturbing discovery. The Void Hunters have incorporated technology from dozens of species they've consumed. They're using weapons and defenses we've never encountered before. The implications became clear to War Master Drakthal as he reviewed the battle data. Humanity had not been building weapons to threaten the galaxy. They had been building weapons to save it from an enemy that conventional forces could never defeat. "How long do we have?" asked Prime Minister Kethvar, his ancient wisdom finally grasping the true scope of the crisis. Dr. Han Yu-jin consulted her long-range sensors and performed calculations that incorporated data from the scout battle. "The main Void Hunter force will reach the core worlds in 18 months. Based on their previous invasions of other galaxies, they will target population centers first to maximize the elimination of life." The council chamber fell silent as representatives realized that their debate about human military capabilities had become irrelevant. The question was no longer whether humans posed a threat to the galaxy, but whether they could save it from a threat that no one else had even known existed. Colonel Oh Sang-wook reported the final piece of disturbing intelligence from his network throughout council space. "Admiral, our agents are detecting signs of Void Hunter infiltration on 17 worlds. They send biological agents ahead of their fleets to weaken planetary defenses from within." The age of secrets was ending, but it was being replaced by something far more dangerous. President Lee In-ho stood before the assembled Galactic Council, the weight of his species' future resting on the words he was about to speak. The Great Chamber held representatives from every major civilization in the galaxy, all of them now united by a common threat that humanity had been fighting alone for decades. Honored council members, President Lee began, his voice carrying clearly through translation systems that rendered his words into hundreds of different languages and communication methods. We gather today not as separate species competing for resources or territory, but as intelligent life facing extinction. The holographic displays throughout the chamber showed the approaching Void Hunter fleet in all its terrifying scope. Thousands of vessels that defied conventional understanding of technology moved through space toward the galaxy's core worlds. Each ship was a living entity, capable of consuming entire civilizations and incorporating their knowledge into an ever-growing, collective consciousness. Dr. Han Yu-jin participated in the address from her research facility, where her sensors continued tracking the enemy's approach. The Void Hunters have consumed 47 galaxies over the past million years. In every case, they eliminated all intelligent life within a time frame of less than 50 years. Captain Lee Tae-min commanded the first Joint Human Council military operation from the bridge of his ship, now revealed as the flagship of Earth's hidden fleet. Around him, officers from dozens of species worked together using human technology and council expertise to coordinate a defense that neither could have managed alone. All vessels report ready, announced Lieutenant Kim Dong-soo from his tactical station. The display showed over 2,000 ships from across the galaxy, representing the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Human vessels provided the technological foundation, while council ships contributed numbers and specialized capabilities. Ambassador Park Jun-ho, Earth's newly appointed military liaison, coordinated communications between human forces and council fleets throughout the galaxy. His task was complicated by the fact that many council species were still learning to trust the humans who had deceived them for over a century. The Alterian High Command requests confirmation of weapon compatibility, Park reported. They want assurance that human adaptive technology will not interfere with their energy projection systems. Engineer Yoon Jae-ho had spent weeks modifying his weapon systems to work alongside Council military technology. The task required understanding principles of physics that some species had developed in completely different ways, then finding methods to merge incompatible technologies into effective combinations. Compatibility confirmed, he reported. Human adaptive shields will enhance Council weapons rather than interfere with them. Each system will learn from the others and improve overall effectiveness. The first engagement with the Void Hunter advance force occurred at the galaxy's outer rim, where Captain Song Mi-rae led a mixed fleet of human and council vessels against an enemy that represented pure destructive force. The battle tested everything that humanity had learned about fighting the Void Hunters and everything the Council had to offer in terms of military capability. Enemy contact confirmed, Song reported, as her sensors detected the approaching Void Hunter ships, beginning adaptive analysis of their current configuration. The Void Hunters had evolved since their encounter with human scouts, incorporating new defensive measures and attack patterns based on what they had learned. But humanity had been preparing for this adaptation, developing weapons systems that could counter enemy evolution in real time. Scientist Young Eun-soo coordinated the defensive systems from her laboratory, where she had created technology that could analyze Void Hunter adaptations faster than they could implement them. Her shields began learning from the enemy attacks before the attacks actually reached their targets. Adaptive Defense Matrix operational, she announced. All vessels now have predictive shielding that can counter Void Hunter weapons before they fire. The battle raged for hours as human technology and Council determination faced an enemy that had never experienced defeat. The Void Hunters adapted constantly, changing their tactics and capabilities in response to each human countermeasure, but humanity had been studying them for decades and had developed systems specifically designed to out-adapt any opponent. Dr. Park So-young revealed the final secret of her research as the battle reached its critical phase. Her agricultural specimens had actually been biological weapons designed to counter the Void Hunter infection that preceded their invasions. These weapons could neutralize the enemy's ability to corrupt worlds from within. Deploying biodefense systems on all compromised worlds, she announced. The infection vectors are being eliminated at the cellular level. War Master Drakthul commanded Council forces with new understanding of what warfare against the Void Hunters required. His traditional military tactics had proven useless against an enemy that could adapt to counter any conventional strategy. But human methods, which seemed chaotic and unpredictable, were proving devastatingly effective. Human vessels, continue irregular attack patterns, he ordered. Council ships, provide support and maintain defensive positions. The battle turned when Colonel Osang-wook activated intelligence networks that had been hidden throughout Void Hunter space for over a decade. Human agents who had been positioned during previous engagements began sabotaging enemy vessels from within, using knowledge of Void Hunter psychology and technology that no other species possessed. Internal sabotage systems activated, O reported. Enemy command structure is experiencing cascading failures. General Lim Seok-jin coordinated the orbital defense of major Council worlds, using human technology to create protective barriers that could withstand Void Hunter assault. His systems incorporated lessons learned from studying every previous Void Hunter invasion, providing defense strategies that had been refined over decades of preparation. Planetary shields holding at optimal efficiency, Lim announced. All major population centers are protected against direct assault. The decisive moment came when Dr. Han Yu-jin activated her most advanced technology, communication systems that could disrupt the collective consciousness that connected all Void Hunter entities. The weapons had been developed based on captured enemy technology and years of studying how the Void Hunters maintained their hive mind. Initiating consciousness disruption field, Dr. Han announced. Enemy coordination capabilities are being severed. The effect was immediate and devastating. Void Hunter ships that had moved with perfect coordination suddenly began operating independently, their tactical effectiveness reduced by orders of magnitude. Without their collective intelligence, they became vulnerable to the combined human council assault. Captain Lee Taemin led the final attack against the Void Hunter command vessels, using weapons that incorporated technology from every species in the council. The battle was brief but decisive, ending with the complete destruction of the enemy force that had seemed unstoppable just hours before. All Void Hunter vessels eliminated, Lee reported. Long-range sensors confirm no additional enemy presence in our galaxy. The aftermath of the battle saw fundamental changes in galactic civilization. Council Prime Minister Kethvar formally recognized humanity as the galaxy's primary defense force, acknowledging that their military capabilities were essential for protecting all intelligent life. The Galactic Council hereby establishes the Human Defense Initiative, Kethvar announced. Earth's forces will coordinate all military activities related to external threats, while maintaining the peaceful cooperation that has defined our civilization. President Lee In-ho accepted the responsibility with appropriate gravity. Earth accepts this role not as conquerors or rulers, but as guardians. Our ships will continue to patrol the galaxy's borders, protecting all species from threats they cannot face alone. Ambassador Park Jun-ho established new communication protocols between human military forces and council governments, ensuring that future defensive preparations would be conducted with full transparency, rather than in secret. Engineer Yoon Jae-ho began sharing human weapons technology with council species, providing them with adaptive systems that could counter unknown threats. His work ensured that the galaxy would never again be defenseless against enemies like the Void Hunters. Dr. Park. So Young opened her research to council scientists, revealing decades of xenobiology studies that had been hidden behind agricultural research. Her work provided the foundation for understanding threats that might emerge from beyond the galaxy. The new order that emerged from the crisis represented a fundamental shift in galactic civilization. Humanity's role as secret protectors became an official position as guardians of all intelligent life. The Council maintained its peaceful diplomatic functions, while human forces provided the military capabilities necessary to defend against existential threats. Captain Song Mi-rae, established patrol routes that covered the entire galactic rim, using human ships equipped with long-range sensors to detect approaching dangers years before they could reach inhabited worlds. Her vessels worked alongside Council exploration ships, combining military vigilance with scientific curiosity.